Mass media is a resource that is widely available and has far-reaching effects on a large variety of people. It affects how people perceive and understand various issues. Race and gender representation in media needs to get better. The positive portrayal of women, people of color, immigrants, LGBT+ people, same-gendered couples, interracial couples, working-class people, people with disabilities, fat people, and so on is crucial so that people are aware of diversity, but also appreciate and celebrate that diversity. Specifically for the members of minority groups, seeing oneself reflected in the media is crucial, particularly in the face of prejudice, discrimination, and the constant invalidating comments and actions. To see a face or body that looks like your own is powerful in its effect to simply validate you as a worthy human being.
Obviously, seeing myself very rarely represented sometimes makes me feel like an outcast or makes me feel really weird for being who I am.
I don't think there's a lot of representation for people who are outside of the gender binary.
I'm not really scholarly.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be seen as someone as like a slut.
So, as a white passing, multiracial, mixed person, my mother is black and my dad is white. I've had a lot of struggles with my racial identity, looking the way that I look. I feel if there was more representation of multiracial people in media, then life would be a lot easier. So I wanted to do this video to bring more attention to diversity and also to talk about it, to hear people's feelings, because you don't often get a chance to talk about it. And I wanted it to be for people who are represented in media. So, and I really enjoyed talking with my interviewees. And I just want to show regular lives of, people that just aren't cis white men.
I mean, I definitely find that as someone who identifies as more agender, it's really weird for me to walk the line between like completely non-binary and like, I don't know, mixing in femininity or masculinity, because a lot of the times, like, if you present yourself in a certain way, someone will just automatically assume. And I do get that. It's kind of human instinct, but it's kind of frustrating to have to explain it.
I've only ever seen 2 trans men ever in anything ever.
Really? Wow.
And there's probably, I look, but I don't think, that just doesn't come up very much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. It means that I'm always comparing myself to cis men in media, and sometimes that makes me feel like I do not look like they do. Or, just like various things.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be differences between cis men and trans men. I mean, we're both men.
Yeah.
But we have kind of an experience that sets us apart a little bit in some ways, and it would be cool. I mean, it just isn't a topic that is explored a lot either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, usually it's getting a new group of people in the media starts with telling that story and centered around the story of being that, and then you move on to just having those people in stories regardless of who they are, and just introducing them into the stories and just them being normal people because they are. But we haven't even gotten to step 1 yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd love to see trans people just being in a normal sitcom or something.
Yes. That would be...
Instead of a really dramatic, tragic, oh my god, drama thing.
Well, I think there's definitely a part of media that tries to hit, try to represent people, but really what they're hitting is what they want out of the representation. That'll draw eyes of everyone in the media, but majority white people, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's also really difficult is like things are not represented accurately because they're not realistic.
Yeah,
Not everyone looks like a
exactly.
supermodel, and not everyone looks like a specific way, probably manipulated by white people who
Yeah.
are running these industries, because there's also not a lot of like different representation or diverse representation in big companies at all. I want more representation,
Yeah.
even if it's like by the smallest amount. It still falls under stereotypes.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is still not accurate.
Definitely.
And I'd much rather, of course, it's hard because all the TV shows that I like, majority of people are white. But what do I
Yeah,
expect?
me
That's
too,
what Hollywood
yeah.
is. So it's like really hard. I've never really had something to be like, wow, I like this, and then not realize that it's all white people, because that's what I know.
yeah.
And like, I don't know, I'd really wish that things were diverse, but that's just something that's not introduced, and that's not what like critics or people who have been making films forever believe what that will like catch audiences'
Yeah.
eyes or what people will want to see, because also the majority of the audience are white. So it's like,
yeah.
Not everything is a stereotype. People are people, and they're beautiful, and I just want to see them represented, and also I would like to see myself represented.
I feel like we're kind of making strides on having like trans people represented in media and things like that, but there's just definitely no conversation about anyone who's not specifically like male or female, like even if they aren't trans and made transitions
Yeah.
or whatever, but like no one talks about anything outside of
the
the
whole, like-
main two. There's a lot of expectations set by media, and like a lot of issues regarding gender and race are like stemmed from them, because there's just so much like all around, like if you are a heterosexual, you're only going to see like heterosexual couples on
Yeah.
TV, and so for you, like that's your normal. But if you aren't, then you're kind of looking around and like there's just no sort of even relationships. And I feel like, again, with the lack of representation, it's just kind of hard for people to like look at media and relate to it if
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
excluded.
Yeah.
I get like inspired whenever there's like a person like me, or just not necessarily related to me being mixed or trans, but just having qualities
Yeah.
that I share. What I'm trying to do for a living, or I'm trying to like spend my time on and go to college for, is music.
Yeah.
And
Insanely talented.
but yeah, those spaces are always filled with just cis white guys. And so ever since I started playing and like going out and getting gigs, I'm always, back then I was the only girl there and the only like non-totally white person there. And then when I transitioned, you know, and people, that was a whole thing. In Portland, there's a specific reason, is because there's no funding for any of the arts programs in PBS. So the only way you can get really good at jazz music is by paying a lot of money
Yeah.
for a teacher.
Yeah.
And these like Portland Youth Jazz Orchestra and Metropolitan Youth Orchestra jazz bands, those cost thousands of dollars a year.
Wow, yeah.
And it's just like, who's gonna fill up those spots? Wealthy white families.
Yeah.
You know, with kids who they want to like, you know, like get them into like good stuff and like soak up culture and like get
Yeah.
really good at something, you know. And so that's who ends up being represented, and they start representing the city as a whole when they go
Yeah.
audition at different colleges. So everyone knows that Portland has a pretty good jazz scene and a lot of good students coming out of their different music programs, but none of them are coming out of the high school programs, and most of them are white guys. And then there's a whole nother thing of the gender divide in the jazz music industry.
these points need to be made, and I think it's really important to like stress these things, and I think it's important for people to learn about these things, because if people aren't educated, we can't like move to make change.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's like really minuscule at the
Yeah.
moment, it's something, and I think it could be like much greater. Things take time, unfortunately.
There's a problem in media right now of Asian men not like being respected, or they're very rarely heroes in the story, and they're kind of, and then Asian women are really often fetishized. If they're
Definitely,
even-
yeah.
If they're in the story at all. I know, like, the Asian side of my family, like, is aware of that, and it hurts to see them, like, to think about the fact that they're so rarely get to see themselves
Yeah.
on screen in any capacity, unless it's like Bruce Lee or something. And, you know, like, not everyone can be Bruce Lee.
How do you think your life would change if growing up you did see people like you?
Oh, that would make everything so much easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't, like, I had never heard of a trans man until I was like 16. Like,
Really?
I'd never
Wow.
heard of that in my life before, and I met a person in real life that was at like a convention, and he did like a speech, and I was like, I've never heard of this before, and he was like talking about his experiences, and I was like, oh my god, like, he's describing everything that I've always felt weird about, and like, I don't know, like, could this be me? And that
Yeah.
took me a long time to accept about myself. But if that had happened earlier on, that would be amazing, because growing up I was really, like, masculine, as masculine as like a little kid can be, I guess. Or I always felt really uncomfortable taking on feminine roles, or like dressing in feminine clothing. And but I'd never heard of anything other than, oh, that's a tomboy, and they'll grow out of it. I think if I had seen a person that wasn't a tomboy that would grow out of it
Yeah.
in any movie ever, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But that never happened. So I think I would have figured myself out a lot earlier, and it would have like solved some problems.
Yeah.
So being white passing, I realized that I do have many privileges because I don't look black. I may look. I've gotten plenty of races that people think I am, but they're usually not right. And even just being around my family and how people really do treat me differently. So I do have to acknowledge that. Like, I do have to acknowledge my awareness of my privilege. So I don't want to take up too much space looking the way that I look, but I don't want my race to be invalidated.
If people are sheltered from things, it's also hard to believe it. And I think that even though there are some terrible parts about media is a really quick and easy way for a lot of people to access facts or
Definitely.
watch something or read something.
Growing up in Portland, I didn't know that anything was different. Like seeing a class of mostly white people who are just walking on the street and only seeing white people. I just thought that was normal. And in media, watching TV, kid shows that are mostly white people who've got a few tokens in there. There are people like you, and even if they're not represented. As I got older and as I met more people, I met more mixed people, and even people with the same skin tone as me. And yeah, even though that I am white passing, I don't want to ignore half of my family, half of my heritage, and half of my culture.